Okay, we're live.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the City of St. Catharines Heritage Advisory Committee Designation Subcommittee meeting for Friday, May 16th, 2025. It is now 2:35 p.m. and we have quorum, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. We begin the gathering by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Acknowledging this reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people. We now move on to today's agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Lauren?
I had there's 3 additions to what was circulated. First, I just want to introduce our new student planner. Second, there's a Ontario Heritage Toolkit update circulated this week. Oh, Holly's here. And I just wanted to let you guys know that has happened and talk about it a little bit. And then Mark sent in some items for 219 merit, and so I've added that as item 7.6. Hi, Holly.
Sorry about that. Apologize. Been a stressful day. Long weekend, Fridays. It's like, whoa.
Welcome,
we're
Holly.
Almost there.
I made the mistake of going to the bank this morning, so yeah. Okay, so would anyone like to make a motion to approve the amended agenda? Robert? Robert moves that the designation subcommittee adopt the agenda for this meeting held on Friday, May 16th, 2025, as amended, copies having been previously distributed. In favor? Okay, then that carries unanimously. We now move on to considering the minutes of the previous meeting from April 11th, 2025. Are there any questions, comments, or changes to that? Robert?
Just a couple of things. There's some typos and things like that on under business 7.1. That would be page 205. Talking about the McGuire Voissard building, and it's got Voissard here in all areas, so that should be amended. Voisard, it should be. And in page 5.5, we talked about Riordan Mills, and I don't remember stating that there's a large dark building with a large cup on top. I believe I said a cupola.
Cupola, yeah.
It's a nice big cup.
Absolutely fair. We'll make sure those are fixed.
And the last paragraph, various ruinous state, and the mill at Todd Morton is actually Todd Morden, Todmorden, I believe, rather than 2 words. Todd Morden Mills.
Right.
Yes, just one word.
And the brickworks and all that. Yeah.
Is it 2 Ds or 1 D?
I think it's just 1 D.
1 D. Okay.
Todd Morton, it's 1 D.
1 D. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Todd Morden, Morden Mills, and yeah, it's part of the brickworks. Yes, I think that was pretty much everything I noticed in a cursory glance.
Perfect. We'll make sure those edits are made.
Given that those are largely small corrections, actually, does anyone else have anything before? No. Given that those are largely small corrections, can we go ahead and vote on this? Okay. So can we have a motion to adopt the minutes for the April 11th meeting, including Robert's amendments? Brian? So Brian moves that the designation subcommittee approve the minutes, the amended minutes of the meeting held on Friday, April 11th, 2025. In favor? That carries 4-0. Next, number 6, declarations of interest. I have an interest in item 7.3 regarding 143-153 St. Paul Crescent. Any others? Okay. Moves on to our first item of business, 7.1, our new student planner, Christian, who you see there in Alcatraz, and Lauren will introduce Christian.
I like that room. Honestly, it's a really nice room to be in. But yes, we have a new student planner taking on the role previously held by Nishida. Like Nishida, Christian will be responsible for taking our minutes and helping us edit and publish them. He'll also hopefully be helping with some of the property research and putting together statements. And I want to take him on do some site visits. So Christian, if you want to just introduce yourself and say hi to everyone.
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Christian. I just finished my second year at the University of Waterloo studying a bachelor's in urban planning. And I'm very excited to be joining the city in this position. And it's a cool room, but there's no windows. So yeah, that would be my take on it.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Christian. Your background's in urban planning. Do you have interest in heritage, or is it a sort of a new area for you?
It's both somewhat of a new area, but I'm also somewhat interested in it. My brother just finished a heritage carpentry program at Algonquin College. And so I guess in some ways it's kind of like in the family looking at heritage, but yeah.
We always need more heritage carpenters, so good on them. Thank you. So welcome, Christian. Moving on to item number 7.2, the Ontario Heritage Toolkit update, and Lauren's going to give us an overview of that as well.
Letting me share my screen. Hold on a sec. All right. All right, so I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up and a little bit of background. Earlier this week, we were sent an email from the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, which is the ministry that Heritage is currently organized under. I know that changes a lot, but it's the MCM right now. They released a brand new Ontario Heritage Toolkit. And some of you may be familiar with it, some of you maybe less so, but it has traditionally been the kind of guiding document on how to interpret and apply the Ontario Heritage Act. It has been incredibly out of date for many, many years, so much so that for the past 5 years, we basically haven't used it. So we're really glad that they provided us with an update. It takes into account all the different kind of legislative changes that have happened to the Ontario Heritage Act, and also kind of like more importantly, provides a lot more clear and detailed guidance on how to apply 906 and what an appropriate statement looks like, statement of significance or cultural heritage value or interest, and also provides, how to interpret integrity, like concepts like integrity. And so I will be sending an email around to everyone, both the designation subcommittee and the advisory committee generally. We're going to talk about this at the HAC meeting later on this month. But I encourage you all to go to the link. I do have a couple open here, like here under evaluation, it tells you, how to figure out what's a heritage attribute and what's not a heritage attribute. Describes how do we determine heritage integrity, and like things like the one thing that has been a constant debate and concern is like what representative means and how to interpret representative. And so if you're interested in any of those things, which I know are things we discuss quite a bit, these are all available on their website now. It used to be published as in book form, and James's copy is on my desk right now. And I had it, or is it Christian, or does Christian have it? One of it's somewhere on the office, and then published on PDF form, but everything's online now. So I'll be sending that around. Yeah, that's basically it for me on that one now. But I guess importantly, I did use this updated version to kind of update and evaluate the statements that we're going to be discussing today. Any questions?
Questions or comments? Looks great. It is good to see that it's been updated, and look forward to looking through it.
Is it available in hard copy if we wanted to, say, contact, the Ontario government and say, please send me one?
Yeah,
Or is it strictly online?
strictly, as far as I can tell, strictly online. They also don't provide like PDFs of the document. It used to be that you downloaded it as a book, like as a PDF. And we think that's so that it can be edited kind of on a more ongoing basis. So it's not like, it's more of a living document now, but it does make it harder. Like I was trying to download it and I ended up like printing off the whole website. It's kind of awkward in that way, but yeah.
Yeah, and through the chair, I think with the amount of changes that have happened over the last few years to legislation in Ontario, like planning and legislation, heritage legislation, we anticipate that if they were to print out hard copies, they probably might have to change them, in the not too distant future. So
Yeah, super fair.
yeah, for now it's online and it's available to everybody through that. So yeah.
But I can print a copy for you if anyone ever needs. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Oh, okay. So no motions required for that, but thank you, Lauren, and we'll move on to item 7.3. And for this item, I will pass the chair cudgel over to Brian to handle things here, and I will turn off my my microphone and camera and carry on.
Okay, so we're moving on to, as Andrew said, item 7.3, statement of cultural heritage value or interest on 143 to 153 St. Paul Crescent. So Lauren, take it away.
Yeah, so everyone is very familiar with this group of buildings and properties. I did send around the draft statement of cultural heritage value or interest earlier this week to everybody, but I thought we'd just go through it and see if anybody has any comments or concerns or edits or additions, things that I may have missed that you think are significant or think should be definitely included in the statement. And so I think just as like a general, I mean, yeah, everyone has lots of experience, but usually a statement of cultural heritage value or interest starts with the description of property, which is just a kind of brief high level description of its location and basic kind of property, basic properties. And so I'll probably just read through each section if that everyone would mind. Yeah, okay. Okay, so the properties at 143 to 153 St. Paul Crescent form a contiguous row of late 19th century commercial block buildings located at the intersection of St. Paul Crescent and Pelham Road within the Western Hill neighborhood of St. Catharines. The block includes the Neptune Fire Hall, the Fossard block, and the McGuire Fossard building, each reflecting modest Italian vernacular architecture with distinctive decorative brickwork, arched windows, and cornice details. Together, these properties form a prominent and visually cohesive streetscape at this key corner site. One comment that I did receive back was the way, and this is something that we kind of discussed at our last meeting as well, the way we kind of describe and distinguish the individual buildings, understanding that they have had a lot of different property addresses throughout the years. There are multiple property addresses assigned within individual buildings. In this case, I've decided to go with the names that they're known by, and taking from the research that has already been compiled. But as far as the McGuire-Vissard building goes, we're not so sure if that is the name for it, or if that's something we need to discuss, or if there's a better way of distinguishing that building from the rest of the collection. So the next section describes the design or physical value of each of the buildings. So the Neptune Fire Hall is a rare surviving example of a Victorian era fire hall in St. Catharines, constructed circa 1881 to 1882. This building exhibits restrained Italian influences, including decorative brickwork, segmentally arched window openings, and a modest projecting cornice with paired brackets and dentils. Despite some side and rear alterations, the building retains its original form, fenestration, and detailing, making it a significant local example of civic architecture of the period. The Voissard block is a representative example of late 19th century vernacular commercial block architecture with Italian elements, including arched window recesses, bracketed cornice, and symmetrical facade and composition. The upper story retains a high degree of integrity, preserving the original brickwork, fenestration, and cornice details, despite the storefront alterations at grade. The McGuire-Vissard building is distinguished by its front facade, which follows the curve of the street and which provides a visual anchor at the intersection of St. Paul Crescent and Pellant Road. The building features Italian styling from a prominent cornice, arched window recesses, and decorative brickwork. The upper story retains original materials and proportions, conveying its commercial character, despite alterations at ground level to storefronts. So any comments or feedback so far on the either description of location or of property or the design and physical value? Yeah, through the chair, Holly.
Well, hi, through the chair. I just have a question. Maybe Brian knows this. I don't know if that's supposed to be included in the description, but it was a working fire hall from like what year to what year?
Okay, yeah. I think, let's see.
And
Under
was it always called the Neptune Fire Hall?
Yep.
Was it? Okay.
Yep.
So I think that's a good point for the historical section. I can add that to the years it was fire hall. There's this
I think I mentioned that in the historical summary that I did for it.
Yeah. And I think the guidance that we get says that the statement should have like really high level information with a lot of the detailed history and detailed architectural description in kind of like the supplemental designation report. But I think you're right, Holly, that specific detail of when it was a working fire hall is an important one to have in the statement. So it's a good.
As for the last part of that block, the McGuire-Voissard building, I don't see any reason why we can't call it by that name, because if it was built by McGuire, which I think it was, it just helps to distinguish which half of the building is which. Although you could maybe just call it the McGuire building. It'd be the same thing. It'll clearly differentiate what part of the structure we're talking about.
Okay. I'll put that.
But I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't say, McGuire, Voissard.
Okay. I'll put that as a note. Okay, great. Okay, moving on to historical and associative value. Neptune Fire Hall is historically associated with the Neptune Hose Company No. 3, organized in 1877, and reflects the early development of municipal services in the Western Hill neighborhood as the only remaining Victoria-era fire hall in St. Catharines and one of the few comparable examples in Ontario. It holds significant historical value tied to the city's civic development. For the Voissard block, the Voissard block is historically associated with Benjamin D. Voissard. I have bad pronunciation. A local grocer and former carpenter who established the B.D. Voissard and Sons in this location in the 1880s. The business, which included grocery, coal, and general merchandise sales, served the Western Hill community for over 3 decades. The building reflects the area's evolution as a mixed-use commercial corridor and stands as a testament to the Voissard's family contribution to local economy and community life. And the McGuire-Voissard building, originally acquired by Michael McGuire and later owned by the Voissard family. The building reflects the evolution of the site as a key commercial node. Its history includes associations with local merchants and civic leaders, contributing to the broader understanding of Western Hills commercial, residential, and social development. Yep. Any questions, concerns, additions?
Yep, I'm happy.
Good, good. And so for contextual value, the Neptune Fire Hall, situated at the intersection of St. Paul Crescent and Pelham Road, the Neptune Fire Hall occupies a highly visible lot, reinforcing its landmark status in the Western Hill neighborhood. The building's form, scale, and distinctive architectural detailing contribute to the area's historic character, while its civic function historically anchored is historically anchored. While its civic function historically anchored the community's sense of place and safety. I edited that a couple times. The Voissard block contributes to the cohesive streetscape of the late 19th century commercial buildings that define the historical core of Western Hill. The building's massing, materials, and detailing reinforce the block's historic commercial character and support the area's enduring identity as a neighborhood center for commerce and services. The McGuire-Voissard building, occupying a corner lot with a distinctive facade. The McGuire-Voissard building serves as a visual anchor at a key intersection. Its prominent location, historic commercial uses, and architectural form contribute to the continuity and integrity of the Western Hill streetscape, making it a significant part of the neighborhood's historic built environment. One spelling error. Anything missing? Oh, it doesn't sound right.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on to the heritage attributes, and just kind of as a reminder, these are the features that support the heritage value that we've identified, and they're the things against which will be kind of determining any sort of like impacts in the future. It doesn't mean these things can never change. It just means that these things are part of that value, and any changes should be considered and consider those consider that character. So for the Neptune Fire Hall, the 2-story flat roof form and massing, the symmetrical 3-bay front facade with recessed brick panels, the central segmentally arched opening at grade, the flanking narrow segmentally arched windows, the paired double sung sash windows within tall blind arches on the 2nd story, the circular blind panel with radiating brick voussoirs. I have this thing where like I can't actually pronounce French words very well, so it's the feeling of my own. Projecting cornice with paired brackets and dentils, brick cladding with exposed orange-red brick, and prominent siding flush to the sidewalk. So I'm just gonna call up. I don't think I have a very clear in my. This is this one here. gonna pull up a better image of that. Realizing now that there should be. So interesting. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna pull up something. Pull up a street view. This over here. So a couple of the questions that I have is for the windows, because they aren't original wood windows, but they do reflect a certain form. Whether like the fact that they're double hung should be included as heritage attributes or not. In case, and another question I have is the brick, because it's, orange red brick, it's been painted over. I don't want to say that the fact that it's painted is significant. The orange red brick is significant, but it's mostly obscured. I guess those are my questions for you guys. What do you think?
Does the issue of the paint really matter? Because I mean, you are referring to the fact that it is orange red brick in your statement of attributes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Andrew, at some point or way down the road in the future, someone might decide to, power wash all that paint off anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so it's like, if someone wanted to repaint it, would that be a concern? And if someone wanted to power wash it, would that be a concern? And what is the significant part? So, James, do you have any opinions or perspectives on this?
So is the concern like you're worried that somebody else might paint it like eventually, or
I'm not worried about, I'm trying to decide if that needs to be consideration. So how would we word it that like either painting it or cleaning it would be fine, honestly?
I
Because
mean, I think the
yeah,
brick material is obviously the most important thing, right?
yeah,
Like because I think, if somebody were to slap vinyl over it, that would
that would
be
be a
bad.
problem.
And
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to you'd want to keep the brick exposed.
yeah,
So it's hard because painting is like it's not an attribute. Like I don't think we want to say that it is an attribute. And of course, I think we'd always prefer that the paint eventually maybe be removed because
mhm,
that's better for the brick and whatnot.
yeah,
But it's more of like a best practice than it is like an attribute, sort of.
mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm.
don't know if I would even refer to the paint. Maybe I think I would just
Okay,
say like the brick material and
yeah,
um yeah, I and you could even like right now it's painted. If the paint were to be removed and then somebody in the future wanted to paint it, you could use the brick, the idea that like the red brick is there, like you don't want to cover that up, right? So maybe
yeah,
paint, that's how you deter painting, even though somebody wouldn't have to get a heritage permit for it.
yeah,
I guess it would just be a way to it'd be just a tool you'd be able to use, right? To say like, you're not supposed to do that because the red brick is supposed to be exposed, right? So that's just my opinion on it.
okay. I think I agree with that. So I think I'll just say orange red brick cladding and not talk about where it's exposed or the paint, and just have that as an attribute.
I don't even know if I would say cladding because like cladding kind of seems like it's like a
Mm,
veneer, maybe.
right,
I would just
right.
say the orange red brick material, construction material, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you have, um, Are there any other materials that are associated with this building? Sorry, I don't know it well enough to know if there's like stone, like what are are there keystones or anything like that?
But that was
There's wood.
And then what's in the like above the windows there and the key is that
I believe
painted?
they're painted concrete.
Because what you could say is you know, the materials including, and then you can say like the red brick,
Hmm.
the whatever the materials are of those keystones,
Yeah.
the wood
Hmm.
used in the cornice there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I don't know, just throwing stuff out there. That's all.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
did we
We
mention
can
the window
confirm
sills?
the
Is they're probably, cut stone as well.
Yeah.
mhm. So okay. Um,
I would put the sills, yeah, with the when you describe the windows there, like
yeah,
put it with that, group them together so it's easy to find later on if you ever need to.
yeah, for sure. Um, I'll confirm that material. Keystone. Work on that. Sick. Okay. Um,
What kind of foundation does the building have? Is it a stone foundation? It probably is, I would imagine, from
I
the 1880s.
I would imagine, yeah. Yeah, I didn't have access. I didn't see that part of the building. And it's not really visible from the street. But that's something we can definitely figure out.
Because if it does have a stone foundation, then I think that would be an attribute that we should mention.
Mhm. Okay.
You want to go back to a picture of the building if you don't mind?
Yeah,
Just
for sure.
make sure we've captured everything.
Mhm.
So is that that's not like a medallion or I'm not really sure what other word like a is that like more of a louver?
Circular. Yeah.
Blind panel? Is that what you're
Blind panel. Yeah. Crosswires.
Um,
Maybe there's a better architectural term for it.
did that vintage picture of the streetscape that we had in
Yeah.
yeah,
Just has,
it's too bad you can't really see
I
the
know. Yeah,
good
what's
close up
there?
of the thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's there. I mean, usually, I mean, I've seen it's usually like a stone medallion with either like the fight like the fire company identified. Okay, let's check comments. Um, terms. Okay,
Yeah, I think medallion would be but
medallion.
we don't if we knew it was actually like a if that's what it was.
Yeah, we will look more into this. And I will be meeting with Andrew after this and before it goes to committee. So we can kind of ask these questions and get answers.
Like it looks like it's just wood right now, right? Like
Yeah,
it's not but
yeah,
there might have been something there at some point.
yeah, absolutely.
I wondered if it might have had something to do with like a fire alarm or something, like a bell
Oh,
behind it or
Bell.
something that
that would be cool.
when a fire was going, it might have been like almost like a sounding board or
Mhm.
something. It would have amplified the tone of the bell to warn the neighbors that, there's a fire someplace, or maybe it might have had a clock in it at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, or some sort of stone. Like maybe did they have a logo?
See, I would imagine it would be like a logo, like you would have either the number of the company
Hmm.
or some information. But we will check this out. Or
They were called the Neptune Fire Company, you said?
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Good. Okay. Any other comments, questions, things to look into around the heritage attributes? Okay. So for the Vossard block, two-story flat-roofed red brick form and massing, symmetrical primary facade with arched brick window recesses, double hung wood sash windows with painted surrounds, overhanging wood cornice with paired brackets and dentils, intact upper story brickwork and window proportions, and building's alignment flush to the sidewalk. So we will pull up this guy here again. So I think recognizing the keystones again, adding that to it, and the sills. Again, the foundations really aren't visible on any of these buildings, but I can get confirmation on the material and add that as well.
For the, sorry, Lauren, I know
No
you're
worries.
working on this one, but on the fire hall, is
Yeah,
the arched parapet included in there?
the parapet. Good.
Like the parapet wall, the area, it looks like
Yeah.
like so on either side of there's like
Mhm.
the cornices on either side, but then the center
The
bay,
center arch. Yeah. I think I don't call it a parapet, but
like it looks like it projects above that's why I called it
it
a
does. Yeah,
parapet
I know
wall.
you're right. Yeah, yeah, it does. So, mm, mm,
I would maybe say like
central
like for the where you have projecting
arch.
cornice, maybe I would say
Yeah.
like the uh roof line or maybe the roof line including the projecting cornice with paired
Mm-hmm.
brackets and dentils,
Mm-hmm.
or actually, sorry, go back one second. So the roof line including the parapet, the arched parapet flanked by projecting cornices. Yeah, I guess that's right.
Corni.
With paired brackets and dentils. I think
Okay,
that seems accurate.
that seems good. Yeah. Okay. Roof line generally, and then central. Good. Okay. Good, good, good.
Is that firewall on? Oh,
I was
that's
just
on the.
thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
it's
one
on the
here
other
and there's
half.
one there. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
on the other half, but I don't think I'm not. Let's see. Did I? think I did. It's the firewall. I'm just going to put this here. I'm going to figure out the right language for that. But if anyone has it. Chimney. Two. Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts or recognitions? We're kind of doing these both together. We'll go with the second.
It's kind of unusual that one window where the rental living sign is, that it's been blocked up, and it looks like even the windowsill's been removed.
Yeah.
Or was it a shorter window to begin with, that if you
I
took the
don't think
sign down,
so.
that you'd see a super short window.
Yeah, no.
But no, they all look the same, don't they?
They're all the same, yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
It would be nice if that window, when the building is restored, if that window could actually be, opened back up to, preserve the symmetry of the upper floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so okay, so I'll add those things to Vossard block as well, and the McGuire Vossard building and McGuire building. So 2-story flat roofed red brick form and massing, curved. Oh, this is not. We're going to describe this in a different way. The corner facade following. I had to figure out the right way to describe that. But I wanted to include the fact that it kind of follows the angle of the road here as part of the description. The regular rhythm of second-story windows set within arched brick recesses, overhanging wood cornice with paired brackets and dentils, central window within the curved corner. That's not. I don't know why I described it that way. At the second story, surviving original brickwork and original proportions at the upper story. The building's prominent corner, lot siding, and continuous street wall presence. And then I have the firewall feature and the chimney. We're going to add the cut stone window sills and the keystones. I'm going to confirm that material and stone foundation. Going to confirm that as well. I'm going to figure out how to describe what I'm trying to describe there. Okay. Any other questions, comments, additions? Anything missing? Let's take another look at here. So you have the window openings, the sills, those, the chimneys. It's kind of like how I'm trying to describe how the angle of this building changes along the street. I think that is a significant part of it, but we'll figure that out. James, anything to add that you see?
Do you have because the one roof is different than
flat.
the other, I think. Do we have
Yeah.
that?
The fact that one's flat and one is a side gable.
Yeah.
Let's see if how that's described.
Yeah, because you have flat roofed red brick form and massing for that one.
This one should be side gable.
Ah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The side windows on that end also, I think, are a little bit different from the others. They don't look like they've
They
got
don't have,
keystones on them.
yeah, they don't. So, second story. Yeah. Let's see how we can describe that. They're still second story. They have the brick, but no keystone. So let's say okay. Okay.
As for the angle of the building, could you just say that it presumably followed the original
Yeah.
street alignment,
Yeah. I
the
think
19th century street alignment or something like that?
yeah. I like that. I'm gonna make sure that it's accurate. I'll take a look at the street pattern there. But that's probably true, and I think that that is a good way to describe it. So I'll check that out. I don't have any of the historic maps loaded up here. Let's take a look at them. Kind of see here.
Because even in these photographs, it looks like,
Yeah.
you know, the street was kind of a little bit wider at that end.
Yeah.
So it would have been, you know, more of of an entryway.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like it does open up and kind of open up the corner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think I appreciated in the like how it looks today, but the window, like the arches are actually like they're more of like hood molds, eh?
Yeah,
Like they kind of pop a little
they
bit.
do pop. Yep. Yep. You said hood molds?
I think they're called hood molds,
Are
yeah.
they called hood molds? Okay.
Let me or I'm
Um,
making that up. Who knows?
I think it sounds great. So
Yeah, they're called
term I've never heard before.
hood mold, yeah.
Hood mold. Okay. Let's check out. Um,
It's kind of like a projecting
mold
uh,
with a U or no U?
well, there depends on who you ask. I
I'll add that and I'll make sure I get the Canadian English spelling
I think it's with a U.
with a U. Hood molds. Okay. I like it. Very good. Thank you, everybody.
Do we know, and I think the only person that can answer this question probably can't answer the
Is on
question,
mute.
but
Yeah.
what, like, is there anything under, I'm thinking like could you go back to the older photo?
Yeah,
I'm just curious what's going on between the first and second floors.
that is a question.
Like it looks like there's,
I think there's a lot of like hope for what's under there.
yeah, there might be some, I just want curious to see what, like, are you
Yeah,
able to zoom in on it a bit?
on the old or new.
On the old photo, yeah.
So there's actually two here. There's this with the kind of
Yeah, with
porches.
yeah, those are great.
And they're beautiful. And then there's this. So this seems almost higher. This goes all the way up to here, the windows, versus here. See? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like that line there. So I don't know. Because the windows would have been up to here. Or the
Yeah, I was just curious about if there was, it looks like there's like a cornice basically between the first and second floor.
mhm.
You can
And I mean, I
count the
don't
windows.
don't think that would still be there. I mean,
7 windows.
it looks pretty full, like the existing
Like there's this here, but
Right
whether
there, yeah.
what exists underneath there, like how much of the brickwork is there.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think we can really include anything if
If
we
you
don't
can't
know
see
what's
it
under
yet,
there. If you
no.
can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I'll take these notes. I'll do a little bit of research just to make sure I have the right language in all cases, and also to confirm some of the materials. And then it will be going back to, or will eventually go to the Heritage Advisory Committee as a whole, and we can kind of re-review those and finalize them through that process. Does that seem okay with everybody?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Good. Thank you.
So are we still making a motion today about this, or
I think
because you're
this
if
is a
you're going to be
question.
if
Yeah.
you're going to be revising your statements and
Yeah.
attributes here, then I guess we shouldn't be making a motion about it.
Would you like to make a motion that I revise what we have, and then I come back to this committee with that, and then go to the Heritage Advisory Committee? Because either we're accepting today this, we're accepting with revisions, or we're asking for it to come back. And it kind of depends on what you guys want.
Personally, I think I'd be happier if we could, receive what you've,
Hmm.
we've had the discussion, you've received our information, our
Hmm.
input. It's going to be, revised and come back to us.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yep. Okay.
Is that okay,
Do I have,
Holly or
yeah,
Robert?
let me,
Yes, I think
let me,
we need to add more.
yeah, let me just work on I'll open a new document and I'll work on a motion for us. It'll just take me a second.
Looking at those heritage pictures, it would be so great if the Neptune Fire Hall could have that peaked
I know.
boomtown
Absolutely.
pediment,
Yeah, it was really
restored.
cool. Yeah.
And even those covered porches on the Vozard block, those would be cool if they could be, replicated.
So I think, Brian, you have what I provided to you in this, but here I'll show you.
Brian, I'm curious, do you know if any buildings on St. Paul had those types of balconies? Because it's interesting that Port Dalhousie, definitely a lot of the commercial strip had those, and clearly here they were there as well. So it seemed to be something that was happening in St. Catharines at the time, but I don't remember seeing any pictures of anything downtown having that. Do you?
There might have been a few, but it's interesting because that little, boomtown, thing that we were just talking about, um, Larissa Brodsky's office that she has. If you
Yep.
see a vintage picture of it, it had that identical kind of peaked roof on it, that
Hmm.
boomtown facade, and it's been taken off too.
Hmm.
And it's also got one of those round medallions in it. So and so that's a good indication that maybe her building was built about the same time because it was, you know, replicating the same kind of features.
Yeah. No, I just
I,
looked the
I know Hamilton. You see pictures of downtown Hamilton from the 1860s and 1870s, and almost every commercial building in their downtown had covered porches and projecting overhangs and things.
hmm.
So yeah, it's no surprise that we had them in St. Catharines.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing to me was just that it doesn't seem to be something that happened downtown, or at least not very often if it ever did, and none of them seem to survive now. But yet
Yeah.
in Port Dalhousie, it's a very much a part of the flavor of those buildings. And then these buildings here had them, right? So it's just interesting that like downtown, nope, we're not doing that. But like the rest
Yeah.
of the city was like, no, we actually think that's a great idea, right? So I'm
Yeah.
just a curiosity, that's all.
It feels like
Uh,
more of like a suburban commercial thing, like not the
yeah.
downtown core, but more like suburban. Yeah.
I wonder if it was encroaching on the street too much.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
perhaps for
encroachment would have
safety
been
reasons.
like that's probably why a lot of those things got removed, right? Like eventually, as more rules and regulations come into play, um, like that's why I don't think they'd be able to be reinstated because it would be going over city property, right? I believe.
Right.
I don't know where the lot line is there, but that's my guess.
That makes sense.
Like it'd be an
It's like
encroachment at that point.
it's like patios today.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay, so I don't know about this language, but let's take a look. The draft statement of cultural heritage value or interest in heritage attributes for 143 to 153 St. Paul Crescent be received and amended as per discussion. We can make even two. And that staff be directed to make these amendments, proceed with consulting with property owners, and return the final statement to the Designation Subcommittee for review.
I like that.
You like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So, does somebody wish to make this motion? Robert, I see your little
I'd be pleased to.
fingers waving. So, all in favor? Okay, it's done. So I guess we can welcome Andrew back from exile.
Hi, Andrew. Welcome back.
I dreamed that I was in a room full of files. It was scary. Would it be all right if I mention a couple things that had come up that people were interested in information on that I can
Yeah, I
provide a
think
little
because
more
we're
background?
done. Yeah, I
Okay.
think as we're done the
One
voting
was
and such.
the timeline of the Neptune Hose Company. It was disbanded in 1920.
Mm.
It's actually kind of interesting because it was during the time when the city was trying to move to a all professional fire service, and it was somewhat controversial. There was a lot of debate because a lot of people wanted to retain the volunteer companies, and the Neptune Company was a volunteer company. So it was in 1920 when it was ultimately disbanded after much debate. In terms of paint removal, Mark was actually out a few weeks ago, and we did a paint removal test on the firehouse that went very well. And the hope is to get that paint removed. And painting brick is one of my real pet peeves, and so that is definitely the plan. I can also confirm that the foundations of all of the buildings is stone. The basements are actually quite magnificent, very, very high ceilings. And when I first brought, when we were looking at buying it, I brought the Heritage Mason in to look at it and do an evaluation of the foundations. He said this place is built like a castle. So you get that feeling when you're down there. It's quite something.
Is it a sandstone foundation?
Yes. Yeah, we'll have to have you come take a look sometime, especially now that it's been mostly cleaned up. Um, and then the filled in windows were mentioned as well. Those both at one point in the later historical photo, two of them, if you look closely, you can see two of the one window in each building were turned into doors to access those upper areas there that were built onto the front. And then the door in one building was converted back into a window, and in the other building was just bricked in. So the one that was returned back to a window, that's one has a wooden sill, whereas all the other sills up there are stone. But the plan is to reopen that one closed window and then put in stone sills with both of them. So, yeah.
Andrew, you mentioned that Mark was able to get out there. How did the brick look underneath the paint when you removed it?
It looked good. We because we were testing, we tested on mostly on that center area, which is newer brick where the original large entrance door had been. So it's actually old brick, but not original brick. We just thought we'd try there first, and we tested a little bit on the softer brick. But it went very well, and he's done a fair bit of that, and it can be done with there's a lot of degrees of sensitivity that you can do it with. And if you look at the later historic photo there, the one in the bottom right, you can see the BD Voisard and Sons sign painted on the building there. I asked him what the prospect was of potentially uncovering that if we remove the paint up there, and he said it is possible, but it will depend on what state it was in when it was painted over and what kind of paint was used originally and so on. So when we do those areas, we're gonna do it with maximum sensitivity and just see if we can discover those, which would be magnificent, but it may be a little bit of a long shot. We'll see.
And all the lintels are stone?
Yes, except for the one wooden one, which was the one that was turned into a door and then back into a window. That
Yeah.
one's
Oh,
wooden.
sorry, the keystones here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Also too, yeah.
Is it just my imagination looking at that bottom right picture? But do the eyebrows and stuff over the windows, do they almost look like they're like polychrome brick? Like a yellow brick and a red brick and a yellow brick and a red brick? Or would it be painted contrasting colors on the brick? I mean, to my eye, they look brighter than the surrounding brickwork.
Did you zoom in on it, Lauren, a little bit?
I think it's the shadows, but it's hard
And
to
I'm talking about the
say.
Neptune
The other
fire hall.
picture?
Oh,
Oh,
the
the
fire
fire
hall.
hall.
Oh, the fire hall. We have here. Yeah, there's something going on there, right? Or it does seem lighter.
Because I'm thinking of the some of the old Victorian fire halls in Toronto, like Yorkville and
Yeah.
On College Street, and they have the polychrome brick in the window arches.
Yeah, it was actually much more decorative. It's hard to tell. We do have one photo from across the street that's our best look at part of the front of the firehouse, and it was really quite interesting how it was decorated.
Hmm.
Move on to item number 7.4, which is the statement of cultural heritage value or interest for 3 Elizabeth Street. and Lauren is going to take that over.
So we'll go through the format for this as well. So for description of property, 3 Elizabeth Street is located on the south side of Elizabeth Street, west of Lake Street, within a mature residential neighborhood northwest of downtown St. Catharines. The property contains a 1.5-story stucco-clad front gabled L-plan dwelling, constructed circa 1880 with decorative Gothic revival elements, including steeply pitched gables, decorative bargeboard, and ornate woodwork. Statement, the design and physical value. The property is a representative and well-preserved example of a late 19th century vernacular Gothic revival dwelling. It is characterized by its steeply pitched gable roofs, decorative bargeboard with scroll-cut detailing, dentils, paired brackets, and a two-story projecting bay window. The use of a prominent two-story projecting bay window, it's double in there. Elaborately turned porch columns and applied decorative woodwork reflect a high degree of craftsmanship and artistic merit typical of this style. The retention of original massing, window openings, and architectural details contributes to the property's high degree of integrity. So any comments, questions, additions? Can do the same thing with this one, where here, let's try.
Andrew, were you able to find any more pictures at the library of your fire hall?
Not yet, but still working on it. We have one very interesting one from the museum that it says may be the interior. So we'll see. We're still looking.
I go to Charleston, South Carolina a lot, and the fire halls are all like that when you walk down the street. I always dreamed of living in that one.
This. Prominent bay window. Can't be. There you go. I've made some changes that I think make it more clear. Projecting bay window, the bay window, elaborate porch columns reflect tension. Okay. For historical or associative value, 3 Elizabeth Street is directly associated with the Brian. How do I pronounce this again? Beggy? You're on mute. Particularly Francis P. Beggy.
Beggy or baggy?
Beggy or Baggy,
Either
every
or.
time you tell me. An early civic leader, painter, merchant, and fire chief of St. Catharines in the late 19th century. The property was built and occupied by Beggy Jr. and his family, who contributed to the city's civic life, trades, and business community. The Beggy family's long-standing ownership and occupation of this property from the 1880s through the mid-20th century reflects patterns of residential settlement, family inheritance, and working class neighborhood development in St. Catharines. The property also contributes to understanding of the city's post-canal era growth, as well as the area was developed following the subdivision of Calvin Brown's lands in the early 1870s. Any questions, concerns, additions? Anything really important that I missed?
Should we say Mayor Calvin Brown?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. St. Catharines Mayor Calvin Brown?
Yep. Yep. It just ties it in, gives it more significance when you've got, the
Yeah.
mayor of the corporation subdividing property.
Yep, I think that's true. Yep.
That's good.
Good. So for contextual value, the property contributes to the historic residential character of the Elizabeth Street neighborhood, which is composed of late 19th and early 20th century homes. It supports the continuity of the streetscape through its form, scale, and architectural detailing, and is visually and historically linked to the broader urban pattern established through Brown's subdivision. The dwelling remains part of a stable residential enclave that reflects early urban development patterns in St. Catharines, contributing to the understanding of the city's working class housing stock. While not a citywide landmark, so 3 Elizabeth Street forms an important component of the local streetscape and supports the overall historic character of the area. I actually need to say that. Not while not a land. Mm. Okay, any aspects of its contextual value that needs to be included? Okay. Heritage attributes. Key heritage attributes that reflect the property's culture heritage value include the 1.5 story L plan, massing with front gable orientation, the steeply pitched gable roofs and cross-gabled side extension, the decorative barge board, skull-cut woodwork, and dental trim in the front gable, and paired brackets at the eaves, the prominent that's not prominent projecting bay window on the front facade, including its configuration, window surrounds and paint scheme, the 1-story open porch with elaborately turned columns, applied brackets and ornamental trim, the stucco wall cladding and its visual expression, the historic window openings and configurations, including paired casement windows. The property's setting, including the low ornamental metal fence, mature vegetation, and garden character, and the property siting within its original 1872 subdivision by Mayor Calvin Brown, maintaining its historic connection or orientation to the street and its relationship with adjacent heritage dwellings. So the question, they are not original windows, but the openings are casement window openings. And then the fence, whether to include it as a heritage attribute or not, are my questions for you guys. And the garden, because I feel like that does contribute to the overall character of the property. But is it something that could be altered, or is it something that contributes enough to the expression of that character?
Could you just blow up one of these pictures a little bit with the show of the fence, the bottom left, perhaps?
Yeah, this one shows the fence here.
Oh, I think that's original. That's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
It does look original, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It looks very old, and it could be original. I would say that it's definitely consistent with the architectural style. I don't know when it would have been.
looks like an original gate just to the left of the corner post.
If you can see a bit here.
Wasn't the one I was looking at, I don't think, but
Um,
in that other picture,
here.
maybe things, see there, it doesn't look. No, I was actually on the driveway side,
Hmm.
where the porch is.
Hmm. Nope. Let's see. Harder to
Right
see
there to the
depending on the
left, in the center there, like
yeah.
a walkway to the little porch.
Yeah.
I think there was a gate there.
Mm.
You can see
There's
it,
this one here,
the
right?
second panel to the left from the corner of the fence. Looks like a gate there.
Okay.
That's, but I think that's an original fence,
Okay. Um,
worthy of
yeah.
leaving in. Yeah.
James, do you have any perspectives on cute little cast iron fences?
I don't know a lot about cast iron fences, so
Yeah.
yeah.
What we can do is I could take a closer look and maybe check it out on site and take a closer look to see if I can get any more indications of its age. But whether or not it's like it contributes to the character of the building, I feel like that's a yes, or to the property, I feel like that's a yes. And I can do a little bit more research on fence styles and whether or not this would have been a style available when the house was built or during what era. And I can kind of figure that out. Does that sound like an approach?
I would still think that, the fence in the garden would be a contributing factor to it. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
contributes to the streetscape as well.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where I feel like it also contributes. It's not a part of the building itself, but a part of the character of the property. And if there were any changes, like again, if there are any changes to the property, it's not necessarily that it can't change, but that it continues to contribute in the same or similar way. So, okay. Mhm. I'm going to do a bit more research on this. I'm going to change it just to the window openings because the windows themselves are not um, historic or historical, or original, or even wood. But the actual location of the openings and the configurations. Anything else? No? Okay. In this through the chair, sorry. In the same way, do you want me to put together a similar motion that I take these edits and I talk to the owner and I come back to you guys with a final version? Does that make sense to you? Yep. Okay. you go.
Any recommendations on that motion? Then would anyone like to make the motion? Robert? No, it's moved by Robert that the draft statement of cultural heritage value or interest and heritage attributes for 3 Elizabeth Street be received as amended as per the discussion, and the staff will be directed to make these amendments, proceed with consulting with the property owners, and return the final SCHVI and heritage attributes to the designation subcommittee for review. In favor? All right, that carries unanimously. We move to item 7.5, 2 Queenston and 38 Geneva, and Brian has some updates on his research into those properties for us.
Yeah, it was a really, it turned out to be a more interesting, building than what I thought it was. Although we've all admired the structure from afar. It looks in the 1830s that there was already some kind of a building on that corner, built by Mr. Wright. And it's interesting that that building has an association with William Hamilton Merritt and the Salt Works, because Wright apparently got that corner piece of land in exchange for a salary that he did for Merritt on the Salt Works. So there's some kind of a building there in 1838, clearly maybe not the size of what was there. But by 1852, you can see that there's a fairly significant structure on that corner, which was, subsequently enlarged. And then, by looking at the brickwork on the building and by seeing accounts in the newspapers, you can see that the building has been modified at certain points. I think the part that has, like the 38 Geneva, is the original appearance that the whole thing would have had, and it would have been a pre-1852 construction, and then modified by Mr. Brownlee and by Mr. Hyatt in the 1860s, and again sometime after 1875. So it would have lost that tall end gable with the chimneys in it, and that's quite apparent. When you look at the differences in the brickwork, little telltale signs there. And then, of course, I don't know why they had to put that kind of hipped roof on the Queenston Street end of the building. Why they couldn't have just had a straight gable on that end. But and again, the brickwork there reflects that there was a change in the building where they filled it out so it was more of a parallelogram than what the 1852 footprint shows. But by the 1880s, it had pretty much taken on the shape that we see today. The only part of the building that isn't really original is that pink cinder block garage opening, whatever that is. It'd be nice if that was taken off the building, but so it is quite a historic building. And then when you have people like William Hamilton Merritt, Gershom Wright, the Brownlees, Frank Coy and his family, these are all pretty significant names in the downtown core through the 1850s through even into the last century. And one of the things about the building that I thought was neat was when Frank Coy decided to, and his sisters decided to sell it. One of the stipulations in the deed was that the mortgage payments had to be made at Coy Brothers Hardware Store. They had to actually take the mortgage payments into the shop. So I've got the other thing I was thinking about doing with this, my report, my summary. I've got a couple of interior shots of the 38 Geneva portion of the building from the late 1920s. when there was a couple of Finnish families lived in there. And I debated about whether I should include those in with the report or not. It was just kind of, cool to see what the inside of, one of those little apartment units looked like 100 years ago. So if we want to add that to the historic write-up, I can, scan the photos and pop them in. So at any rate, it's a building that, like I say, there's definitely been something on that corner since at least the 1830s, and it's gone through various modifications, various iterations, but the substance of it is still very much an second quarter, third quarter of the 19th century building is when it took this appearance. So I think that's about all that I want to say about it. Yeah, Lauren?
To the chair, I would love to see those interior pictures. And I think that would be cool to include in the designation report.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
it's actually got my grandparents and the people who are living there sitting on a couch playing ukuleles. So
Wow.
Yeah.
So interesting.
so yeah, I can scan them
Wonderful
and include them.
That'd be great to see those for sure.
So really the only thing that this building has lost is the high end gables, like the high chimneys and they were on both ends of the building. And that's you can see those in the Brosius map of 1875. Yeah, that one. On where it's on Keenstown Street. I thought, they didn't have their spell check when they were doing the name of the street either. But you can see the high, the chimneys on either end have both been lost. But I mean, it's definitely a landmark building on that corner. When you think that people were coming in from along Niagara Street from Niagara, because it was called the Road to Niagara, you're coming in from Queenston and coming in up Geneva Street and St. Paul on the other side. It's no wonder they built a building of this particular size and massing on that corner, because it was a real visual focal point. And also interesting on the Brosius map, you've got the two little buildings sitting right beside it. The one on the front end has been demolished, but that smaller part at the back, I think it's still there. It's been joined into the main building when they redid the alterations in the post 1875. It was sort of tacked on, so it's still there. If you look at the modern pictures, you can see it sticking out at the back. Yeah, it's the little part just behind where the pink cinder block is.
Very cute. Very cool.
Very interesting. Oh, it's a cool building. Okay, so I would like to make a motion to receive the update. Anybody? Robert?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And I add that what a wonderful read that was, a report. Thank you.
Moved by Robert Speck that the discussion regarding the ongoing research and upcoming deadlines regarding 2 Queenston and 38 Geneva be received. In favor? That carries unanimously. We move on to item 7.6, 219 Merit, and Mark not being here, Lauren is going to fill in and provide the update.
I'm just going to keep it very brief because maybe at the next meeting Mark can be here and he can update on the work that he has been doing. But he did submit today a whole bunch of really good information on the history of the property, some historical resources and a pretty good description of the property itself. And so that just updating you that yeah, it's moving forward with this property. Yeah, some pretty cool newspaper articles on the Riordan paper mill, and yeah, so that's that. But I'll let him maybe next month go into additional details, and we'll get some more materials to go through, given the late hour already.
It's a cool old photo.
Mhm.
All right. So again, we should move to receive the brief update. I'd like to make the motion. Oh, Holly, you're muted, Holly. It looked like you were saying something as well. But
Oh, I would make the motion.
okay. So Holly moves that the discussion regarding the ongoing research and upcoming deadlines regarding 219 Merit be received in favor. Carries unanimously. And that takes us to item 7.7, next steps. What are the next steps?
Okay. Just really quickly, I am going to be sending out that email about the Ontario Heritage Toolkit. And also with that, I've kind of been working on what would be the best way to share all of the materials that we have so far on the properties that we've been working on. I know that there last meeting there was expressed interest in that, and ideally I'd like something that we could kind of collaborate with. So I have the ability to send a lot of folder of files and large files to you. But I'm looking for something that you could put items in, I could put items in, and we can kind of have as a resource. So hopefully next week I'll be able to send that out to everybody, and you can take a look at all the historic photos that I've been sent, and all the images I've been sent, and all the research documents, so that they're all in one kind of like central place. For the committee's reference. As far as next steps, I'm going to take the edits to the statements as we discussed today. And also I wanted to start working on architectural descriptions and contextual descriptions for 1 Welland, 260 Vine, and 219 Merritt. Even with 219 Merritt, Mark's already done a good chunk of that work. So continue to work with him on that, and hopefully have some more of that to present to you by next month.
Did you get a chance to work on 15 Welland?
Oh, I'm going to talk to Christian about 15 Wellens. He just started, but yeah, we talked about him continuing to work on 15 Welland, or on generally on, not specifically that property, but on the designations work. So I'm going to set up a meeting with you, Christian, next week to talk about what's been done so far and what's missing, and maybe next month we can also present more of that to you guys too.
Yeah, 15 Welland was really kind of bizarre, because I mean everything around it was subdivided by registered plans of subdivision, and then you had that one chunk of land that was still part of a township lot.
Yeah.
It was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it has a very interesting land use history that is very complicated, but I think we've almost teased it apart. So I'm going to continue that work with Christian, and yeah,
Is that
bring
because it
back
was
to you.
earlier and the plans came later, or
I'm
not sure?
I think it's because its history, Brian, because of its history of ownership, because it was municipally owned, then owned by the school board for so long. It was kind of like left out of those subdivisions. What do you think, Brian?
I just think it was a fact that all the properties around it were being done as registered plans of subdivision, and that chunk which was purchased because of the time frame when it was bought, it was just never subdivided as a registered plan. So as the ownership came down to the present time, if it's not subdivided, you still have to call it
It's still, yeah.
its original designation, which was lot 19 concession 5 or whatever it was.
Yeah. And usually that makes it easier, but in this case, it it does
It
not.
doesn't.
It doesn't. No. Yeah, exactly. All right. So we'll have an update for you on the 15 wetlands next month as well. Yeah.
Right. Those anomalies can be fun for sure. Um, uh, number 8, business arising from the minutes. Don't believe there is any. And same 9 items of correspondence. Again, I don't believe there is any.
Could I mention one thing under information and correspondence? I noticed the lion-headed medallions on the oil fountain have been removed, which I guess they're probably taken off for being, restored and cleaned up, whatever. But when I walked past the fountain today, I thought, oh, no lion heads. So presumably they will be brought back at some point.
Through the chair, that's part of a restoration project that's that the public art department is working on, and they have some very, very talented stone restoration experts working on both restoring the head that's there and also recreating what's missing. And I know that they have plans sometime this summer to put them back, and we're hoping to kind of unveil the plaque that we're working on at the same time and kind of have those things happen in tandem. Yeah. So we'll see how it looks.
The date of our next meeting is June 13th, 2025.
I had 2 things actually, if we wanted to make time. I'll really quickly. One, I just sent an email to all of you because I happened to accidentally stumble upon a couple more pictures that I don't know if Andrew has of the properties on St. Paul Crescent. I found them by accident on the museum website because I made a typo in the address and they popped up. And so I accidentally spelled Crescent wrong and then was like, oh, what are these 2 pictures? And they were labeled wrong. Like they were labeled with like Crescent spelled wrong. So I've passed those along to you. It is literally just like you can see slivers of the building in behind properties on Pelham Road and on St. Paul, on like actual St. Paul, not St. Paul Crescent. But yeah, you just get a little sliver of it in behind, which sometimes can tell you, little bits and pieces, right? So thought that was kind of interesting and just very lucky. And Andrew, you might already have those as well, but
I don't,
oh.
and those are just slivers, but the museum will provide high-res versions of them, and sometimes you can see an awful lot more than you.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. Just luck. That's all it was. The other thing I was going to mention is this group, obviously, the mandate for it will potentially kind of change a little bit depending on how things go at council in June, because the Downtown Heritage District study is going to council on June 9th. And from there, we'll have a better idea of what council's direction will be with regards to heritage and designations in the city, essentially. The report should be posted today at some point. It hasn't been posted yet, but I will circulate that on Tuesday to everybody. It's long. It's a very, very long report, but we essentially have made the recommendation to council that they should pursue the Heritage District. We think that it definitely meets the criteria under the Heritage Act, obviously. And it also it serves a lot of purposes and goals across the city, with a lot of our different plans and strategies and things that we're doing, not just from a heritage and planning perspective, but things like economic development, climate change, tourism, all sorts of areas where it actually, benefits that. So that's been our recommendation. Whether council agrees or not, they'll determine that on June 9th. So, and then from there, though, we've let them know, though, that it's hard to do individual designations. It's time consuming, it's resource intensive. And if that's the direction they want to go in, that, as much as you guys are a great group and you're volunteers, right? And you're not, working on this every single day. And so, and Lauren, is just one person as well. And I have a new job here at City Hall as well, where I'm not working on heritage every day as well. So basically we've told them, like, don't expect a lot if that's the route you want to go. So I don't want everybody here to feel like, oh shoot, we have to do 200 designations now in a year and a half. They'll know, and I'll make that clear as part of my presentation to council on June 9th that if they decide that a heritage district isn't appropriate, then this is what the end result will be. So yeah, just wanted to let you all know. Because I remember I think last month, Andrew, you put your head in your hands when when I gave that news. So I know it's a lot, but yeah, just
It's
wanted to clarify and let you
terrifying.
guys know.
It's terrifying. We had talked in the past about there potentially being opportunity for people to speak, to address this at council and interested community, organizations and so on. So I've spoken with a few who are interested and I just sort of framed it as there's a loud minority that is going to show up. So the quieter majority should probably come and have a say as well.
The more the merrier, I would say. Yep, by all means, come on out. I don't know the process in terms of getting your name on the list to be a delegate, but I believe that information will be up on like when we post the report to council on the city like website. All that information should be up there, but if not, I can circulate that to everybody and let you know. I think it's really just getting in touch with our clerk's department and making sure your name is on the list. People are also allowed to speak up. They can show up and speak up, without signing up. But given how uh, popular this one's going to be, that list could be lengthy, and so they might at some point say, okay, we've who here, we're hearing the same thing from a lot of people, and so not everybody might be able to speak. They might just say, we've heard from 10 people already. Who here agrees with what they've heard so far and who here hasn't. I don't know how it's going to work, but either way, I will circulate that to everybody. Let you know how that process goes.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Be an interesting day.
We're looking forward to it. Lauren and I, the report that we've written is very lengthy. Like it was a 250-page study that was written, right? And so to be able to adequately address everything that's in there and also speak to why it's important, takes a lot of time. And yeah, so Lauren and I combed through it quite a bit and tried our best to cut where we could because we felt bad that it was such a long report, but we feel good about it and we'll see what happens. But yeah. And that's it for me. Yeah.
Holly?
Just before we recess, sorry for the long weekend. I was reading this interesting report this afternoon about the St. George's Anglican Church. It's quite interesting. There's a whole team of architects and restoration artists that are doing a big project there to restore that church. And I was just wondering if we had any, or you two had any input on that.
No, through the chair. I haven't heard anything. Lauren, have you? Okay. Oh, Lauren, you were muted, but that
No,
was a
I
shaking
haven't
of your
heard
head.
anything. No. I'll
was
look into that.
It's an architect. Her name is yeah, she said I'll just read it quickly because it was quite interesting. They had a construction site meeting where they reviewed rough cast stucco mock-ups, explored historic paint color options,
Wow.
and they're doing a huge restoration there, the beloved landmark, St. George's Anglican Church. So it's an architect from Toronto and a team, ERA Architects, and
Yeah,
also
Oh yeah.
File Management. Yeah, so it was on. I'll send you the link, James and Lauren.
that'd
Yeah,
be
I'd love
great.
that.
Yeah. And ERA, I worked for ERA a decade ago, so I know ERA very well, and Lauren knows them very well too because they do a lot of work at the city with the city of
Yeah.
Toronto and whatnot. And so they're very reputable. They do good work.
Yeah.
So that's good to hear that they've engaged a group like that to get involved. But yeah, we weren't involved. Sometimes if depending on what they're doing, they might not need to come to us for a heritage permit. So it's not necessarily a surprise that they haven't come to us.
Yeah.
But
Looks
Lauren and I can reach out and just offer our support and say, if there's, and also we have a grant program, right? So if we
yeah.
can help from that perspective as well, by all means, like the money's there to be used. So yeah, Holly, if you can send that to us, that'd be great, and we can go from there.
It looks like it's a registered building. So it's
Maybe that's why. Yeah.
that's why, yeah.
So
It would be within that Church Street study area. Yeah. Sorry, Holly. Yeah.
that's
At
okay.
the end of Lyman.
You know, they've had the hoarding up around the outside of the building since March, I think.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so the front door you can see, you can still get in that way, but everything else has got, hoarding and scaffolding around it. So it is a major work that they're doing.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Thanks for that, Holly.
Yeah, and they
Mhm.
just also said for anyone who's interested, contributions can be sent to support the restoration work through Canada Helps.
Oh,
They
nice.
link there.
That's good.
Great.
I hit reply all to your email there, James, with a link to some of our historic photos for anyone who's interested in this. Some of them are ones you've seen, they're high resolution versions of it. They can really get in close and see some neat stuff on it, including the one I mentioned, which of the firehouse. In the background is a photo of the kids across the street in actually one of the backyards in this photo. And it's you can see a good section of the firehouse up in the corner behind the children. And and speaking of ERA, they're involved with the St. Paul Crescent project as well. So they're really good to work with. Okay. So that being everything, I think we now need a motion to adjourn. I would like to make that motion. Holly enthusiastically waving. So moved by Holly that the St. Catharines Heritage Advisory Committee designation subcommittee be adjourned at what time is it? 4:21 p.m. In favor? Okay, the motion carries 3-1. Brian narrated the second. It's on the record now.
I would love to go on. I just have a bunch of things to get done.
Oh, okay, I'll change my mind.
Enjoy
I'll
it.
vote in
It's too
favor.
late. It's too late. The vote has been recorded, and I'll be checking the minutes for the next meeting.
That's right.
Correctly.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Have
you.
a great,
Thanks, everyone.
great
Thanks,
long
all.
weekend.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
I'll
you.
be
Yeah,
on
enjoy
Have
the
a
weather.
great weekend. Thanks everyone for your great work today. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
See y'all in June.
Does anybody need any heirloom tomato plants?
I do. I want some.
Because I've got lots. I always plant too many. So if anybody wants heirloom tomatoes, let me know.
Yep. And we'll actually talk about this a little bit. I don't know if it'll be too late by that point. But talk about meeting in smaller groups for training and for maybe some walking tours at the hack meeting. So some opportunities for us to get to see each other in person. We'll talk about that more. So
Robert and I would love to do the Yates
Yeah.
Street.
yeah, let's go. Okay. Well, thanks everyone.
For
Great
us.
weekend. Yep.
We could
Ciao.
do that again.